over the last few years, early childhood development has grown and has increased across the world. The MDGs, the Education for All, UNICEF's General Comment 7, all of this is really positive. But when we look at the facts, what's happening across the world is that only 46% of children have access to preschool education. And of that 46%, a third of those places are privately provided. So the children who can benefit most from early childhood development are the ones who are least likely to get it, the most vulnerable, the poorest. And that's where we are in the world today, even though we have all this information and know everything about the importance of early childhood. So we don't yet have a global handle, while there are bright spots across the world.
In Asia, the countries that I've studied, recently there's been a slew of policy changes, and all targeting early childhood education and really working towards getting people focused on developing the field and not just opening schools and centers for children, but also simultaneously working on teacher education. How do we prepare the teachers to be able to teach young children? So it's just about now getting that attention in education circles.
I will define quality like using 3 terms. Intersectorial. As in Colombia right now, we have a strategy that puts together all the ministries, and it's a challenge because, of course, the health ministry will not say and have the same statement as the education one and all of them, but working together for the same objective is really important. The second thing I will define as quality is the comprehensive approach. And the minister was talking about that. It's not about only care, it's not about only education, health, nutrition. It's also about talking about community development, involvement of the families in the process. So that comprehensive approach really defines quality education. And the third one, and that's really important for Colombia, which is a very diverse country, is having a differential approach.
We tend to focus on education because it's probably easier to measure quality in the education setting, where it's focused around the teacher, teacher training, pupil-teacher ratios, and the classroom environment. That's decidedly easier to measure. We focus on it. But any preschool teacher knows that when a child gets to school on that first day, that the children are different. And they're different because of what has happened before and what their home environment is. And how are we measuring parenting quality? How are we measuring the ability of parents to stimulate and provide that really important first step, when in fact, that's the period when the majority of brain development is taking place, even before the kids get to school.
There is a group who's working on just that, sort of can there be some shared alignment around when kids start school on the first day, how can we know the quality of their early childhood development? And they're looking at 2 things, I think. One is childhood outcomes, so objective measures, how are they doing, as well as they're also going to be looking at the experience of children in early childhood development.
Recognizing where children are when they enter the program, and at that level, giving them the supports they need to grow holistically. And when I say holistically, it's again, recognizing children need the physical development and growth, which includes the health and safety. And they need the intellectual and cognitive growth and development, which also includes school readiness and academic learning. And they also need the social and emotional growth and support. So looking at all of that, but acknowledging that different children might need different proportions of the support in the different domains. That's where quality lies.
Do we have an access quality trade-off in early childhood?
Without access, you don't even have opportunity. But with access and poor quality, you do nothing for children, as has been shown. But worse, you can actually harm children, because poor quality early childhood settings have been shown to lead to higher levels of cortisol, toxic levels of cortisol, which actually damage the developing brain. So one has to be very careful in the early childhood period, more so than in the later years, when brain development is not as rapid, that we're not only not doing what we're supposed to do, but that we're also damaging children's brains.
It's early childhood education where you really have to look at children and parents as a whole. You can't separate them like you can separate with older children. And so that's really important to look at education as happening not only within the classroom walls, but what's happening at home also. And I think that also answers your question about when does education begin. It can begin before birth if parents are helped to understand that even if they talk and read before the child is born, that sound is being assimilated and kind of acknowledged by the unborn child. And that's where I think the parenting comes in also.
Our main way of working is directly to classroom projects. And kids get together, discuss topics from the community. They decide to become, let's say, a major, so they set up the project all related with being a major, and they draw regarding the project that they choose. But they also have free time to play. And as I said, how the classroom is set up, the material is put, the intention that is given to the play is the most important thing.
It's important for children to have this free play and this expression. They learn so much through their free play. We saw in that video the social interaction between those two boys when one was pushing the car. We saw how they looked at each other, and we saw how they solved problems. And if we had more of that kind of play, then we wouldn't have as many issue-solving problems as adults. But sometimes the situations in which teachers find themselves hinder play. When you are in a classroom with one teacher with 40 children, you control the classroom because you're trying to keep kids safe. And so sometimes we place teachers in situations in which it is very challenging for them to do the things that they were taught at school and the things that they know are best for children.
Play, first and foremost, is a voluntary activity. It is not a task. And the minute a teacher tells a child to go and play in the sandbox, it has stopped being an act of play and has become work for the child. So that's something really important that we need to understand, is how the child perceives play. The child perceives any activity, doesn't matter what the nature of the activity is play, if it is voluntarily chosen and controlled. It's directed by the child himself, not somebody supervising the child. So free play is really important because it leads to a lot of creativity that we've been talking about at this conference, a lot of open-mindedness, a lot of imagination, a lot of innovation, because it gives children the opportunity to do that. But play is not enough by itself. There is a reason why children have to go to school, because there is this academic part of schooling that has to be participated in and that has to be engaged with.
We're piloting a project that actually is articulating preschool with the first 2 grades of elementary in terms of pedagogical approach and nutritional support. So that also has to be done. So teachers from elementary understand where these kids are coming from, and they can articulate the work.
Here is something that we need to take further: creativity, innovation. We still don't have enough of it in early childhood yet. You know, the measures of quality in the Western world are probably not likely to happen in the developing world. 1 trained teacher per classroom. The developing world is so far away from that. How can we work with what we have now? How can we develop more innovative solutions to make sure that every child, even the children in the developing world, can have better access? They've got to be low-cost solutions. We need to be innovative.
Big support for that.